show. We are at the Alico building here in Central Texas. I am, it's November, right? So your team gets into November. We're looking at your 9th, 10th game of the season, and you got to play hurt. And right now my voice is shot, but we're playing through it. There's green stuff all over as far as like what's coming out, but that means we're on the other side. No longer contagious. When I was contagious, I did my best to get Cam sick, and he's still here. So that was a failure. How about this? No failure. I got official word today that we are heading to Slovacics over the course of the next month or so to do a live show from there. I cannot wait. It's going to be the best. I'm going to get my girl Allie Cadlabar out there, everybody's favorite Czech all-star. We're going to say what's up to Ray, and we're going to have a blast. There is nothing like Slovacics around the holidays. I mean, nothing. And if you're ever going up and down I-35, you got to stop at Slovacics, baby. Say what's up to Ray for me. Scotty Swingler on the wheels of steel. Of course, we got Zach in here. We got Cameron in here. And we're going to have Chris Platt here, former Baylor Bear, to talk to us a little bit about everything from, I want to know about the transfer portal. I want to know about his career, going to the Sugar Bowl in 2019, going to the Big 12 title game as we're getting in that position now where teams are trying to jockey to get in the mix. Before we get into football, just a quick note, and I want to bring Scotty in for this. So yesterday, we do the Texas Sports Hall of Fame podcast here at Rogue, and we talked about the incoming class. Brittney Griner is a member of the class this year. You mentioned your last podcast with Please Bear With Me, which we're going to bring back here in a little while, which covers Baylor football and sometimes major Baylor news. You did a podcast when Kim Mulkey, Mason, come on in, dude. I mean, you already opened the door like 3/4 of the way. It's 104, Mason. You know what we do here at 104? Well, yes,
we are live.
Mason, welcome in. That's our guy, Mace. Mace, have a seat if you want. Do whatever you want to do. Sit Indian style. I don't care. So you did a story. You did a show for when Kim Mulkey left and went to LSU.
I did.
So you're kind of dialed into that. What do you think? You think Kim will come for Brittney Griner's induction?
No.
February 15th.
No, I don't.
In Waco.
I don't. I think and I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong, actually. Yeah. I would love to see her. But I think there is so much bad blood still between Kim and Baylor, Waco. And it's interesting because, her daughter, Mackenzie's still here.
Yeah.
And she and Clay Fuller are around all the time and great people. And so I'm sure she's around Waco some.
Yeah.
But I think, especially because it's Brittney Griner. And even when she got home from that Russian prison situation like last year, like Kim Mulkey didn't want to comment and made that a weird beef thing on the internet for a day. So whereas Nikki Collin, I think, has done a good job kind of reconnecting Brittney to the university.
Yeah.
And so I'd be surprised, man.
I will tell you, I would have loved to have played for Kim Mulkey. I think she gets the best out of all of her players. And I think that that's tough love that she provides. I think it can be put out there in all kinds of weird and uncouth ways and in politically incorrect ways. And I think that ruffles some feathers. And I get it. I get it. Like she did not, it was kind of a layup for her to get Brittney Griner's back or say something, and she didn't. And it goes all the way back to, I guess Brittney Griner wrote a book, and she said that Kim wanted her to keep her sexuality quiet,
suppress it.
Which I have no clue about.
That
situation.
She said, like, who knows all of that backstory. I hope there's a day they can reconcile and make good. But I just don't think that the
table is set for a little bit of
there's no
reunion.
love lost between them. And it's interesting you bring up how much Kim gets out of her players. This is a totally different conversation, but some Baylor fans are a little I think have some questions when they look over Kim's time here of like, how did you only win one championship?
Oh, give me a break.
No, I'm serious, because not only did you have Brittney Griner, but you had Odyssey Sims, who's arguably the second best player in school history at the same time.
Look, that's such crap.
I'm not disagreeing with you. That's a narrative. That narrative exists.
How many titles did she win? 2?
1.
1, that's all?
1 with Griner.
1 with Griner. But how many titles did she win overall?
3.
She won 3. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. By the way,
she's a legend.
by the total legend. I love Kim Mulkey, and I'm also interested about how just the DNA, the mentality of an amazing coach like that, such a competitor, like they're going to be different. Like, the reason she's so successful is probably the reason she's not talking to Brittney Griner. It's all kind of lumped into one. It's the good and the bad.
She is a highly, I'm not saying this is a criticism. This is,
yeah.
I am like this, by the way, what I'm about to say. She's highly emotive.
Yeah.
Wears her heart on her sleeve.
Yeah.
Passionate about every single thing.
Yeah.
So that means and I've heard from a good friend of mine, Travis Corley, who we were just talking about a second ago too, actually played on the Dream Team, which is the guys that practice against the women here at Baylor. And he has nothing but good things to say about Kim, like that she was the most loving, gracious, doting, wonderful human, right? So when you're on Kim's good side, like she is fantastic.
And she would do anything for any of those girls that played for her. I know that firsthand.
We all know that. But when Kim feels slighted, she feels it deeply and she tells you about it. Like that's just part of the legacy too.
One more wrinkle to this as we just looked it up. So the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, right, which will be at the Extraco Event Center here in Waco, Texas, is February 16th. February 15th. LSU plays at Texas on February 16th. So she'll be in the neighborhood. Yeah, that'll be super interesting.
It would honestly make me.
So what are the odds that she goes? Let's get some Vegas odds.
Yeah. 5-1, she's not there.
5-1?
That's what I'd say.
I love the long shot. I'm gonna say I like your odds, and I'm betting I'm betting that something happens between now and then. We got a little kumbaya going.
It would honestly thrill me. It would thrill me if she's there to support Britney, and if Britney gives her a hug. That would thrill me.
That would be pretty awesome.
It would be cool to see.
All right, let's make that happen. I'll get on the phone with Julie Hayes, see if we can get Kim to thaw out with some of that stuff with Britney. We talk about. I would say we talk about. I shouldn't be talking about anything with my voice like this. We mentioned that Chris Platt is going to be with us. Scotty, can we get a look at the playoff rankings? They were released last night, and truth be told, so we had this Big 12 show that we taped today, and it was one of those things where if you look at this right now, we didn't even talk about it because it's kind of depressing from a Big 12 standpoint. You got BYU, right, who craters now to 12 because although they were the conference leader above Boise State last week, with this loss, they dropped to 12, all the way to 12. Last week, they were 4, right? Because the team that is ranked in one of these Power 4 conferences or in these conferences, you've got to be ranked higher than the next one up, which is Boise State, right? And the Mountain West. So that's a screwy situation for BYU. And for the Big 12, Colorado plays Kansas this weekend. If Colorado can win and BYU can beat Arizona State, I think that you'll have an opportunity to get 2 teams in, but it is a long shot. And, Brett Yormark and the Big 12, they're probably like not thrilled about all this chaos. And I don't know why you would be, because it does kind of screws up your championship game. And I don't think Neo playing at halftime makes it any better. I think the Big 12, which God bless him, I love him, but I'd love to see him go back to a little bit more of the WWE theme. That was amazing. Speaking of Colorado, a lot of smoke around Deion Sanders going to coach in the NFL, going to coach for the Cowboys, going to coach for, who knows, maybe another team, right? Or Florida State. And Florida State, I'll tell you right now why I believe Florida State is a more viable option than the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get to Deion in a second, but and what he has to say about the potential of leaving. Adam Schefter talked about this yesterday on the Pat McAfee show, and I believe that this is something very relevant that is going to, play out during the offseason when we see coaches move around. There's more money in college football than ever before. Now, it's a pain in the ass, right? You have to keep guys from entering the portal. You have to recruit all the time. There's NIL money. No one is more equipped on planet Earth to deal with that other than Deion Sanders. He has a way of recruiting. He clearly has a way of making his place the place to be, right? Like he's sitting with the cool kids in the cafeteria. Not to say like they're mean girling people, but that's where you want to be if you're a big-time college recruit. USC, Jordan Lewis, I think his name's, forgive me if I got the guys. Let me see. I know the guy's name. USC just had a decommit. One of the best players in the country. And, he is probably Julian Lewis, number 2 recruiting prospect in the 2025 class, decommits from USC. All signs are pointing to him going to Colorado. And I believe that's where Deion Sanders is going to stay. I truly believe that. Now, if he's going to go somewhere else, I would believe it could be Florida State, because that's a situation in the nimble world of college football now. A guy like Julian Lewis, he wants to play for Deion at Colorado. Guess what he does? He decommits from Colorado and he goes over to play at Florida State. There's plenty of guys with plenty of transfer waivers left on the Colorado roster that will go to Florida State with Deion. That does not happen in the NFL. You go to your team, you have your players, and you got to win. Now, I'm not saying that Deion couldn't win from an X's and O's perspective, but I'm saying that a strength for Deion Sanders as a football coach is the recruiting, is the ability to drum up, hey, this is the place to be. Choose to be here, choose to play for us. And I think that ultimately the NFL, if that's a carrot that he wants to go ahead and chase and consume, that can be down the line. I think right now he is thriving in college football. Scotty, we have a little bit of audio here from Deion. This is him talking to the media yesterday during his weekly Tuesday press conference. And here's what he had to say.
You're going to talk about me.
About the potential.
You're going to talk about me going somewhere with my AD in here? Yeah, they mentioned us with a lot of other stuff before we started winning too, didn't they? Did that? That wasn't fair, was it? I'm happy where I am, man. I'm good. I got a kickstand down. You know what a kickstand is? A lot of people don't in there, not of age, don't know what a kickstand is. That means I'm resting. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm enthusiastic about where I am. I love it here. I truly do. Next question.
All right, so that right there is an indication. I mean, excuse me. I'd take him at his word. It's a 5-year, $30 million contract when he was hired. I think you'll see a renegotiation at some point, at some point soon. I think Deion Sanders knows as well as I do, just from covering the Big 12, that he don't got to worry about anything else but Kansas right now, because they're playing some of the best football in the Big 12. Kansas, their defensive backfield, I think if there is a team that could give that Buffalo or the Colorado Buffaloes, that wide receiving core that is so prolific, who, by the way, I think they'll get Jimmy Horn Jr. back this week, which even provides more problems. But Kansas is a very, very good football team right now. They were ranked atop the Big 12 in the preseason. They found ways to lose. Now they've been finding ways to win. Boy, I'm pulling for Colorado to win on Saturday just because I'm into it. No other reason. There's no personal affiliation. I'm a guy from the Northeast. But Lance Leipold is doing a hell of a job. The way that they beat Kansas last week, or excuse me, BYU last weekend, if you didn't see it, he called a pooch punt down the stretch. And Jalen Daniels, I should have talked about this earlier in the week. We've had so much going on. Jalen Daniels on third down, what I grew up with, or was fourth down, I'm sorry. So back when I was a kid, I remember watching the Eagles and the Broncos play. And John Elway, this is a veteran stadium, did a quick kick. And it was on third down, and I remember my brain exploded. I was like, what, it's third down? They're not supposed to punt? And John Elway sure as hell isn't supposed to punt. Obviously now coaches are taking all kinds of liberties on third, fourth down and stuff like that. But on a fourth and I think it was 11 inside the 50-yard line, Lance Leipold calls a pooch punt, and it goes off the back of one of the members of BYU's football team, live ball. And Kansas recovered on the 3-yard line. Then they went in to score. That is an illustration for me of how Kansas is finding ways to win, as opposed to earlier in the season when they were finding ways to lose. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They have an opportunity to beat their 3rd straight ranked opponent on this Saturday. Believe it, dude. The game is on the road. It's going to be at Arrowhead Stadium. And I do believe that a lot of Colorado fans will make that trip. And a lot of Colorado fans are all over the country now. It's a national brand. So there's a pretty good chance that there'll be Colorado fans in attendance at Arrowhead, which Kansas cannot sell out. They haven't sold out all year. I don't think, flirting with a bowl appearance, and if they win their last 2, a 6-game season is going to fill it up on the Kansas side. But I'd look for a lot of Colorado fans to be there. One more thing I got to talk about this morning, and it's just personal, and I'm being selfish. There's going to be a documentary about the New York Sack Exchange. Oh, right here, Mark Gastineau. Okay, so I grew up. I want to give you a little context here. I grew up from the moment I was a kid. I was a pass rushing defensive end. I just was. I was too dumb to be a quarterback. Too smart to be even like a linebacker. You know, there's a lot going on. They tried to have me play linebacker one year when I was like a sophomore. I was like, can I just please pin my ears back and get after the quarterback again? Thank you. I don't have to worry about any of these coverages, especially running backs out of the backfield. And Mark Gastineau was a guy who I just loved to emulate. Mark Gastineau would have huge sacks. He would have sack dances and celebrations. He had off the field. The guy's life was a train wreck, which I think he's turned it around. In fact, I know he has. But boy, was he an interesting guy to follow. He was like a movie star. I think he was married to Brigitte Nielsen of Rocky IV fame. I know he was married to her. They ran fast and loose, and it was the 80s, and the New York Sack Exchange was amazing. Now, remember, the Jets, historically, outside of winning that Super Bowl with Joe Namath when they were underdogs to the Colts in Super Bowl III, 2-score underdogs down in Miami, and Namath guaranteed a victory. It's been uneventful since then. It's actually been eventful. It's sucked. That's an event, right? It's like a hurricane. But the New York Sack Exchange, Kenny O'Brien as their quarterback, Joe Walton was their quarterback. They had Wesley Walker. Towards the latter stretch of that run, they had Al Toon. Freeman McNeil was their running back. The Jets were really close. I remember they blew a divisional championship game against the Cleveland Browns in the late 80s. I think it was 87. And then the Browns will go on to lose to the Broncos. Either way, this is a story that I have been dying to have told. Like sometimes I'll do deep dives on the internet, just like tell me about Mark Gastineau and what he was up to. I know Gastineau began his career at Arizona State, and then he transferred. It was a first-round pick, and it was Marty Lyons, Mark Gastineau, Salam was the other dude. This is a very Joe Klecko of Malvern, Pennsylvania fame. So there's a lot to like about this documentary for me. And it comes out, it's a 30 for 30. It comes out on December 13th. And as far as I'm concerned, December 13th cannot get here fast enough. Big game for Baylor over the weekend when they take on Houston. I believe Baylor will win that game. I'm going to say it now. They're going to win by 4 scores. 4 scores. I think that Baylor will win the game maybe 35-7, something like that. It's going to be a complete shellacking. I believe Baylor is that hot and that good, and the time is now. The Pistons are pumping. I don't know how you prepare for this team, really, especially if you're Houston. And I know that there's been some issues in the defensive backfield. I know Carl Williams is still out, at least till the bowl game. But guys in the secondary have made plays when they've had to. Who was it? Corey Gordon Jr. By the way, but here's the best part. We're gonna have Chris Platt up here soon. And I love this kind of stuff. Matt Mosley, our friend at ESPN 1660, tweeted about Corey Gordon and how exceptional he was playing and how he made an exceptional play against West Virginia. And Corey Gordon tweeted him back and was like, hey, I really appreciate it, man. At which point I wanted to tweet, get a room. But then I was like, I need to probably step away from that and not do that. But I meant to send Mosley that text message. But yeah, Corey Gordon is obviously another Baylor guy that's very easy to root for. And that tweet was reflective. Hey, it's positive. He's rolling with it. I like it. Scotty, do you think I'm way out of line with my 4-score prediction, 4-score win?
No,
that's a yes.
No, no, because Houston has mostly played pretty poorly.
They average 8 points a game.
But correct. But they, I do think there's something to what Dave said this week about their defensive front is significantly better than any Baylor's faced in a minute. And I just wonder, Houston's had a couple surprises up their sleeve.
Every coach says that, though, Scotty. And I would say the same thing because I pair it what these guys say, too. But, Matt Campbell's playing Utah this week. He said it's bar none the best defense.
I do think this is a little bit of a trap game, too. And I just wonder, you just never know. In college football, anything can happen.
How well will Baylor travel to this game in Houston? You got a team now that's, potentially you could finish the season 8-4, maybe 9-4 after a bowl game. Is the vibe around the team to a point where people will travel to Houston for this one?
I don't know, because there is a huge alumni base in Houston,
Yeah.
so that helps you a lot. I'm sure several of them will go, but I've been a little disappointed. I was hoping there'd be a bit of a better crowd even at the TCU game a few weeks ago here in Waco, and still couldn't really fill the stadium with Baylor folks. I hope there's enough optimism now coming with the team.
Yeah, you got to be feeling it right
out.
now.
But
if you're a Baylor fan,
I think that the 2.5 seasons prior were just so disappointing. I know my friends and I all kind of have a very reluctant optimism right now, if I can be honest with you.
Well, the future's very bright. We know that, and we can see how they play on Saturday. That's the best part. We play the games. All right, we're going to step aside. We're going to come back with Locked On's Cam Stewart. I want to pick his brain a little bit about what he feels Baylor is going to be up to this weekend. And I also want to be I just got a text message. Uh-oh. Okay. I was worried. I got a text message from Julie Hayes. I was worried she was going to be like, stop talking about Kim Mulkey. That's not what it was. All right. We're going to step aside, and we'll be back with Cam Stewart, the Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network, presented by Slovacek's Crawford Austin Properties. Can't forget about D1 Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, and thank you for putting up with my voice. We'll be right back.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference, because my stress level, when we shut down to afterwards, was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics, are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win, and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserved it, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Sports.
Cam Stewart joins us today. Cam, what'd you talk about on your show earlier?
Talked a lot about the Bruins firing Jim Montgomery, head coach. And moving on from that, a little bit about the Celtics knocking off the previously undefeated Cavs. Some nice plays in there. And we did a little Baseball Hall of Fame talk.
We had a good baseball.
We had some guys with some ballots. We elected our own Hall of Famers this year.
Yeah,
I think we did a good job.
I would urge anyone to go to the Cam show and watch that last segment. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it gives you an idea what goes on in some of those Hall of Fame committees and in some of those rooms where people get passionate about stuff, you know?
Yeah. There are few topics that I love doing more than Baseball Hall of Fame.
Oh, thanks. Whoa. Mike Hamilton just gave me hot tea. Son of a bitch.
It's pretty bad.
Mike, there's fluoride in the water. We've got to get it out. All right, that's enough of that.
Wait, can I bring up something very random real quick?
Yeah,
you were talking a little bit about Colorado.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take some off your plate so you can get some of that tea in you. So I have a good little thing with the Colorado fans online. By that, I mean Deion Sanders fans, I think mostly. Like, because these people, I just don't know that they're big Colorado people so much as they are Deion Sanders. Like Colorado does have fans, but so I did a Locked On Baylor episode yesterday, which had Colorado in the title because it gets a bunch of clicks. And this guy said, I would say, okay, so it was how Baylor can actually play Colorado in the Big 12 championship. There's some weird friggin' scenario that they can get
This
there.
stuff drives me crazy.
And this guy goes, dude, you were bored or grandma dinner wasn't finished, lol. And so when you kind of go back at the comments, it allows, it does more for the revenue. So I say, I have no plans to eat my grandma for dinner, but kind of a weird suggestion. And he goes, proved my point. It's your grandma dinner you didn't eat. Get out of the basement, bro. Can you guys help me with that?
I know what it is. I know what it is. He's saying that you're a keyboard warrior living in your grandma's basement. Go up there and eat dinner, pal.
Well, I put my face to this. I love that. I love that. Like, oh, you're so tough. And it's like, well, I do a show every day.
Could I be right though, Scotty?
I mean, that's probably right.
Yeah, I think that's probably correct. But this gentleman, I assume, who would say such things doesn't quite have a grasp on the English language.
Okay, so this got me into trouble.
Point very well.
This got me into trouble with the original Colorado week, where we were doing some good like Deion Sanders takes and things like that.
Kevin Borba.
I made this comment because I had a bunch of people that were putting together comments worse than this, by the way, of like just like not like they don't know the language or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like this awful grammar and English. And like, I can't even read some of them. And so after Baylor lost, I did a live post game with a bunch of CU fans in it. And I said, I've had a lot of Colorado fans in the comments. Well, maybe they're just, Sanders fans because they're not stringing sentences together in English. And because Colorado's a pretty damn good public school. So I didn't expect that. And people I just got branded as racist because of that, which I didn't understand, but maybe I'm just not bright enough to put that together.
You got to be careful nowadays.
I didn't assign a race to anybody like you guys did. I don't know what the hell this was.
I love Deion.
I'm a Deion fan.
Yeah.
See?
All right, I want to ask you.
I'm wishy-washy on Deion.
We're going to move on now.
Yeah.
But in the same kind of breath, same kind of topics, because this is a bit of a lightning rod that Scotty and I touched on. And I've been reaching out to some of my sources close to the situation. They say no way. Do you think that there's any chance? I mean, it really sets up for Kim Mulkey to go to Brittney Griner's Hall of Fame induction in Waco this year. The next day, LSU plays UT. Right up the road.
Yeah.
And I swear, I don't, obviously there's 8 people getting inducted, but the Hall of Fame, they do a pretty good job with this, like figuring out who's going to be where, how to get them here. Could Kim come? What do you think?
She could. I don't think she will.
Yeah.
I heard Scotty's take on it. I pretty much agree with all of it. I don't think, and they'll say, and I think there's some truth to it, but they'll say, we're not going to do that kind of distraction the day before a big game, and right in the middle of the season as we're kind of getting into the stretch run here. I do not think that she will go. She might write a letter or something, but I doubt that she'll be there.
Well, it's so interesting to see exactly what happens with that, because clearly there's a lot of history there. Yeah. I love when we kind of can do a kumbaya and everybody can come back and get together. But I guess, do you think potentially that could happen, like down the line?
Yeah. Yes. I think it could happen down the line.
Okay.
Time heals all wounds, man.
Yeah.
And if we're talking like 10, 15 years down the line, then Kim's in her 70s and you soften up. So, yeah, I think it can happen somewhere down the line. I hope it does, man. Like, I really do. It's Baylor icons.
All right, speaking of Baylor icons, Chris Platt's coming up next. We're going to hang on a couple more minutes before we get to him. I do want to talk to you, Cam, about Baylor football heading into this weekend. Obviously, I get caught up because of how bright the future is now.
Yeah.
But the present is really what's going down. And I said I think they can win by 4 scores at Houston.
I think this is one of your best Baylor football takes all season. Yeah. Like, Houston's got a good defense for sure. This is the best defense they've played since Iowa State. But they're not slowing down this team right now. Like I really doubt it. I was really impressed by the balance that they showed last weekend, which we kind of talked about building up to it, was like the first 3 games of that winning streak were against pretty bad running defenses, pretty bad fronts, so they were able to bully. And I was like, hey, if Baylor can do that against West Virginia, which is pretty solidly middle of the pack defensively and pretty good against the run, like then that would prove a lot of things. And they did. They bullied again. And they had a perfect balance to it. And West Virginia could not stop them. They were lucky it was only 49. And somehow the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week comes from that defense. I don't know how that happens, but they couldn't slow them down. And Houston might be able to slow them a little bit, but that offense is nothing on the other side. It's a good get back for the Baylor defense. I think they're going to win comfortably on Saturday.
I think they will too, and I think that the biggest test remaining is Kansas. I mean that like again,
I don't love that.
No,
both these teams back up against it. Both have 6 losses, which should be a good thing. But
what do you think watching
Kansas,
doing your Locked On Baylor stuff and kind of keeping an eye on everything? What do you think is the reason that Kansas has witnessed a resurgence?
Honestly, I don't know. I haven't watched them in a couple of weeks. I think like it feels like a mental thing because they haven't had debilitating injuries or anything. They had a lot of guys coming back, and maybe it takes a minute to get used to that wide zone offense that Jeff Grimes brings there. It's not the most exciting in the world, but it's actually pretty good for the personnel that they've got.
Yeah.
And I think they just kind of figured it out and it came together, and they looked like a really disjointed team, especially offensively early in the season. And you knew that wasn't going to be the case with Jalen Daniels. Like, he's better than that. And I think it's just kind of come together. I don't know if there was any secret potion or anything.
What are you watching right now? Anything new?
No, it's been a lot of YouTube, man. I got to do my worst watch.
Give me your best YouTube video recently. Oh. And it can't be anything involved with hockey. I don't want to hear about hockey.
Well, then you're tying one hand behind my back here. I've been watching, of course, a lot of Jay Harang, friend of the show, friend of the Cam show.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You're gonna like this, Pete. You're gonna like this. I watched this over the weekend.
Okay.
It is hockey, but you're gonna like this. It was an hour-long documentary about the North Stars leaving Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that kind of shit, like teams leaving.
Yeah.
Because I'm fascinated by how that happens, especially a hockey team in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And I look, and it's done by a local news station. And I'm like, okay, 56-minute documentary.
Yeah.
And it's really, really well done. It's like they have a documentary team for whatever, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So local, but a pretty big market. But I was really surprised by that. So I think you'd appreciate that. It's good stuff. Like, they hated that owner, who was such a slick ass. Like, and he moved them to Dallas. So they reap the benefits here. But
we talked about Bobby Clark recently. He was the GM for a while for the North Stars.
Yes.
When they were doing really well. All right, one more thing.
Built up a good team.
One more thing while I have you. You wanted to ask me about the Sixers. Like, here I am.
Yeah. Oh, man. I know. I got to do a segment with you on my show.
All right, I'll give you the positive take.
Please.
You don't mess with Tyrese Maxey. He's a complete dog. Like, he has, like.
Do you like that Philly bet on him a little bit and kept him around?
100%.
Yeah.
And I love. He's not only a great player, he's a great kid. Everyone around the organization speaks glowingly about him, and I think that, like, the fact that not only, because you know how that stuff works, like, for him to have challenged Joel Embiid and then for that to have leaked to Shams, for like there's a whole chain of events there that goes on that, like, I think the organization wants to be like, hey, this is our guy now. I believe that. So Joel Embiid is still wildly talented and a huge piece for the Sixers going forward, but, like, you know, I almost feel like we're moving to a direction where this is Tyrese Maxey's team.
So my question to you, as a structure that it is right now, does that work? Where Tyrese is the guy and he's calling people out on their bullshit.
I don't know.
And Joel's the best player. It's almost like Joel's like too good a player to not be the alpha, and he's just not the alpha.
Well, that's the
and you've got guys like Maxey, and you've got Kyle Lowry, who's gonna hold some people accountable.
Yeah.
He's done that.
Nobody loves basketball more than Kyle Lowry.
Like, does that work?
Does that work? We'll find out.
And we don't even talk about Paul George. I don't know what he does on this team. I don't know what kind of leader he is. I didn't follow the Clippers, so I don't know what that's like. But can it be a case where you've got two veteran guys, MVP caliber guys, and at one point in their career with Embiid and Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey's the one that's calling them out? I don't know. I'm interested to see. I hope they're better so that the Celtics can beat them in the playoffs.
All right, dude. That's enough for you. All right, Chris Platt coming up next. Cam Stewart, The Cam Show. You can catch him this afternoon, too, ESPN 1660 with the great Matt Mosley. Thanks, Cam.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did.
So,
deserving, man.
Which seems like it fits.
Sports.
All right, we are back in studio. You recognize this dude from Willis, Texas. We were just talking about his Houston area roots. Chris Platt, dude. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Chris, I want to ask you, I got to dip in to that experience of yours. We were just talking about the Sixers are playing. Yeah. They're playing terrible. All right, so I'm not going to ask you about X's and O's or stats, but they're 2-11. Mm-hmm. And after the game, when they lost to Miami to become the worst team in the league along with the Wizards, they had a closed-door meeting. It was like an hour. Right, where apparently Tyrese Maxey called out Joel Embiid. He said, hey, like, you're not here on time. When you are here on time, you're not in shape. You're not going 100%. Yeah. Like, as somebody who's been around, you played 6 years of big-time college football, dude. Like, what happens in those meetings? And do you have any experience with anything like that?
Oh, yeah, of course. For somebody like that, like Tyrese Maxey, to do something like that, that kind of just tells you that, like, he really wants to win. And he's not afraid to hold people accountable. That's the person that you need on your team. Like every winning team that's good, it's a player-based team, not a coach-led team.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of tired of it. I mean, I would be too. Like if I'm losing and I know my star player isn't putting the worth of effort to go out there every day and put his body on the line like I am, I'd be fed up too. So I think that he kind of met his boiling point, and he just had to sit them all down to tell them what it is and what it needs to be better throughout the season.
Who was the voice, and it quite possibly could have been you or some others, like that kept that Baylor locker room on track? You played for 3 head coaches, dude. Mm-hmm. Like that's a lot of change. Mm-hmm. Like how did you guys stay on track when Matt Rule comes on board? Before too long, you're playing in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
Like what was going on? Who was policing your locker room?
Taylor Young. One of those guys that, like, I mean, everybody loved what he did in the off season. So he not only told us like how things need to go, but he also led by example. So he was one of those guys that, like, when I look back how we went up into the Big 12 championship game, like it's because of what that 17 senior leadership team did to ground us, even though that we were doing really bad, to show us the way how it is, because they also were freshmen when they won the first Big 12 championship.
Yeah.
Then they won it back to back. T. Young was on that team. He was starting. So if you're a young guy, you're looking up to those guys when you're recruiting. You're like, okay, this guy's been there. He's done that. So when he's telling me certain things about like what I need to do, how I need to do it, I'm going to listen. So it was very, I would say it was good to us to have them during that time in our period.
When you right now, I mean, you're still very close to the sport. You're training guys, you know, and women, you know, like you're training young athletes though who are moving towards, you know, Division I play, and you know, there's NIL, there's the transfer portal. Do you think the direction, like where are we headed with that?
I think for these first couple years, it's been kind of just everywhere. I think well, you see some guys like that quarterback from
Dude, the recruit.
UNLV,
yeah. Oh yeah. Just leaving.
Yeah, leaving, and then a couple of other guys are just leaving. I think the NCAA are trying to police it a little bit. I don't know what direction they might go, but I feel like they're gonna like have more like a contract. I saw that they got rid of the NLI.
Yeah.
So that's just out the window. So I feel like it'll be more like you're a pro. Like here's a contract. You're here for a certain amount of years, and if you break it, I don't know what that stipulation would be, but I feel like they need to find a way to kind of police this thing to where it's not so common for people to just quit on their team and just head out.
That's what honestly I was hoping for a little bit with Baylor. I was like, well, maybe by the time they get to Kansas, they'll have guys just leave for the draft or whatever.
Yeah.
But they seem like they're sticking together. On the field. You know, you played 57 games, 6 years. You know, you dealt with a debilitating injury and you bounce back, you come back. You know, there's got to be a ton of stuff with that, right? Like off the field. How did you navigate that? As a young man whose life is football, you're also track star, but you know your wheels are a big part of what you're doing.
Yeah.
How did you find your way through all that?
First, my faith in God, and also just my support system. They played a major role in that. I don't think at that point in time I was as close to God than I was after the fact. So sometimes when you're getting, you know, just ahead of yourself, he just does something to you in your life to make you slow down a little bit and just kind of just go back to him. So I would say number one is just my faith in God, and number two is my support system. Over the times, I don't know if y'all know this, but I went to Colorado that summer of 2017, and met a little small family from Missouri, and their two little boys, and somehow somebody from Baylor saw the post that I put up on Facebook and connected me with those guys after the fact. And so they were following the Baylor games. They saw I got injured. And after I got injured, two of the little boys, they wrote me some notes here and there, like every other week, drawing like little portraits of me and sending me letters, just words of encouragement throughout the whole season. And then eventually that story came out, and I was able to bring them back to a Baylor game during the Duke game at home.
Yeah.
But stuff like that is just, especially like when you're in a very dark place. It was my first ever major injury. Just people,
you don't know the support that's out there. Like
No.
there's a lot of negativity out in the world, but like there's a lot of love too.
Yeah.
And it
for
feels
sure.
pretty good when you're reminded about it in your times of darkness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's an amazing story about how you guys as a squad and as a program turned it around. You were also there for some dark times in the history of Baylor football. And then you guys made it out to the light. And now your senior year, dude, I mean, it was amazing. You know, what was it like to be a part of that roller coaster ride and ultimately finish at a real high point?
It was honestly, it was a very proud moment because so 18 was supposed to be my last year. And then I got granted the 6th year because of my ACL. So just being able to see some of those guys that were younger than me just kind of develop, for me to be able to see how they develop and just being a helping hand in that way. So in a sense, it was just a really proud moment, like a big brother moment, to see some of those guys when they came in, they're like, man, we got a long ways to go, to see where they were at that point in time and just to see where they are now in life. I think that was something really special.
For you, was there a moment, you know, and you were instrumental in that 2019 season, but was there a moment for you where you were like, I never thought I would get back to this point, and you were like, I'm here now. Whether it was like some of the huge catches you had down the stretch in the season, you know, you were in that overtime against TCU, like you made big plays at big times. Was there a moment where you were like, wow, I can't believe I'm back here?
I would definitely say it would probably be against Rice.
Yeah, early in the
I think
season.
that was like the third game of the season.
You scored a huge touchdown that game, which people forget was a lot closer than you guys were looking for.
Yeah. It took a while. I would say I scored off of a reverse against UTSA. And that third game against Rice is where I caught a ball. It was a post down the middle for about 70 something yards. So it just felt good to just be free again.
Yeah, I was thinking that word. I was thinking of that word.
Yeah.
You were running free, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a sprinter, how did that, when you don't see it as much, dude, like as you know, I'll broadcast games and you talk about a guy with track speed, but you don't necessarily talk too much anymore about guys doing both, right? Like in school. Like, how did you pull that off?
Honestly, that first year I did it, it was pretty tough. The first year, because you know, you do 3 sports in high school, that's no problem, but now you're in Power 5 football and track. So just to be able to keep up with that intensity and training every day, just doing fall camp, winter camp with football, and then going in spring football, and then going into spring track was a lot. So I initially pulled my hamstring my freshman year. And I was battling during track. Great support staff over there, and that at the track facility, and they got me right just in time for NCAAs.
Yeah.
So, but that whole first year, I was just trying to make sure that I was healthy enough to run a 400, and my hamstring was just giving out just constantly. But after that, talked to Coach Kaz, got me on a better plan to make
Coach Kaz at TCU now. He's still doing his thing.
So he watched over me. Like literally, he watched over me during the spring, made sure I wasn't doing too much because he knew I was going to transition to track. And then if I did something at track, they would tell me they'll tell the football coaches, hey, he did this day. And then football would say, hey, he did this that day. So like the communication they had for me helped me a lot, and just really grateful for it.
What's the toughest part? Like you talk about the nerves, right? You're playing in the Sugar Bowl. You're lined up out there on an island, or you're getting ready to run the 100, right?
Yeah.
Where do you get more nervous?
I would probably say, so I was actually talking about this the other day. I would probably say it's pretty close. The only time I feel nerves in a football game, if it's down to the wire, 3rd down, gotta have it, or 4th down, game's over if you don't get this. Track, I would probably say the 4x4, of course, because that's what I run. But it's the last race of the day. All eyes are on you, and it's a team. It's not just an open 400 where it's just you. It's this team is depending on you to run this lap as fast as possible and to get that stick to the next person.
There's a lot of things, you know, and a message like that brings me to my next question. I just like, what do you pass along to these young athletes that you work with outside of, you know, tapping into your skill set and your experience on the field, right, or on the track? What do you pass down to them?
Something that Coach Kaz has told us, kind of harped into us, is never get too high, never get too low, because as soon as something great can happen, something bad can happen as well. And I always like to share the play, well, the series when I tore my ACL. Literally the series before I tore my ACL, I scored a touchdown. That next play of that next possession, tear my ACL out for the season. So I told them I was on the bench. I didn't kind of just get down on myself. I was still cheering on my teammates, not really knowing what was going on at the time, but just making sure that I'm always in the now, always be where your feet are.
And that you kind of go full circle, right? Like that faith, you know, you don't know what your future is going to be, but that's where you kind of find that faith and you start to build on it, I would
Mm-hmm.
imagine. All right, what about Baylor now on the field? These guys have really turned it around. You watch Sawyer Robertson play. You watch guys like Josh Cameron play, Bryson Washington.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this team? Not only, I mean, dude, they're playing well in the trenches, but they got weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think is the toughest part to like? What's the biggest weapon for Baylor right now?
Their biggest weapon right now is the run game, I think. And it's funny to say that because if I would have said that at the beginning of the season, people would have looked at me crazy. But I think it's just the personnel that's in there, especially during that Colorado game. I remember watching it, and it was just like, why aren't these guys getting enough touches? It's like I've seen little spurts of them running, especially Pendergrass last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, why aren't we giving him the ball in the red zone? And it just didn't make sense to me. And then luckily they got their chance after that Colorado game, and you kind of seeing them flourish now with them getting more reps. So honestly, I love Washington and Pendergrass, but the one person I do feel for and kind of feel because it kind of relates to me in a sense is Richard Reese.
Yeah.
So
his
freshman year, it was like, okay, this dude's going to be.
He was rookie of the year, Big 12, all freshmen. Yeah.
And then that
Freshman
second year, we get a transfer, guess beats him out.
Yeah.
And you don't really see him get a lot of reps after that.
Yeah.
And then this year, he still doesn't really get a lot of reps. Is the 4 running back rotation.
Yeah.
And then now Richardson's out, and now these 2 other guys are really, really doing the job. And now he sees like maybe 2 or 3 touches.
Let me ask you something. Do you think, like, you were a kick returner and Richard Reese had 2 touchdowns returning kicks last year? Do you think that, like, they'll get him involved as the stakes continue to get higher in that return game?
I feel like he could right now if he wanted to.
Yeah.
I really feel like it. Like if he really wanted to, he would. But I really don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
What
right?
the coaches think and what they see. But I feel like if he really wanted to help this team out, I feel like if he were on special teams returning as well, it would help them out a lot.
He's a heck of a player. Great kid, too.
Yeah, he is.
Well, were you around for that reunion weekend a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I was.
What was that like? I mean, what a celebration,
Yeah.
Forget about all the crappy stuff, but Coach Briles is back. You guys celebrated him. He recruited you. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of love.
Yeah. That
weekend to be seen all over the place. What was it like to be a part of that?
It was phenomenal. It's just the heart is just so full because haven't seen these guys in like over 10 years. So it's like it's really good to see the guys that I haven't seen, but it's also good to connect to the guys that were seniors in that 13 team. And I was like a recruit going around, not really knowing them. And just kind of hanging out with them too, like Eddie Lackey, C-Mac, like those guys.
Yeah.
And just to hear just them talking about like how they still followed and like just kept up with the season as I was going on. It's pretty funny. We're at the table that Friday at a banquet, and C-Mac is like, man, he's like, yeah, you were there a pretty long time, huh? I was like, look, it's just 1 extra year. It was only 6. Now it's just the norm. Now
it's the norm.
6 or 7, 8 years now. But it was really good. Coach Briles, I've seen a lot of people say that like they had to really double look because he doesn't look like how he used to. He has the full on gray hair, just looks totally different from when they last seen him. But it was really good. Towards the end of it, before everybody kind of left before the game, everybody was able to take the floor and just tell Coach Briles face to face how much they meant to him. So obviously it was really emotional. But I think it was really needed. And also Coach Briles, as you've probably seen some clips out there, he also said some things as well before we ended it. So it was such a great event to do. And shout out to Diane for putting that together because that was wonderful.
Can you describe the bonds that are built on a football team like that, especially someone who was a part of that for 6 years? You're going to battle with these guys. You're together 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
And when you mention something like you just did, it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. It's so I mean, Coach Kaz, there's one person, Coach Kaz and Kendall and all those guys that are on the TCU staff that weren't able to come out with us, but Coach Kaz was the glue. Like he's the reason why we had the mentality that we did out there on the football team. So everybody thought we were just flashy here, flashy there, but we would be smash mouth tooth if we wanted to. And I mean, we got a running back that's top 5 all time in rushing yards for a reason.
Yeah.
That front line, like, he was not messing around with them. Like all season, he is into them because he knows it starts up front. So yeah, those battles that Coach Kaz got us prepared for in the off season is the reason why we're just so close today.
How did you end up going to Baylor? What was a deciding factor for you?
So I want to say, you might have to fact check me on this. It was my junior year. Football season was over with. It was like basketball season, probably like November-ish. And I got offered. Coach Browse called me. Literally, I'm in English class, and the principal's on the intercom like, hey, Chris has a call in the next 5 minutes. He needs to step out the class and pick up this phone. And so it's a 254 number. I'm like, who the heck is this? And then I pick up. He's like, hey, old Platt. Like, this is Coach Browse. He's like, hey, I just want to call you, let you know that we want to offer you. We'd love to get you down here in Waco again and see some games, and just make sure that you call your mom and dad and tell them the good news. And man, I was like on cloud 9. It was my first offer too. And man, that whole process was amazing. My first one, I went to homecoming against Iowa State. Then I went to the blackout game at Floyd Casey against Oklahoma.
Wow.
And like just seeing the atmosphere, that blackout game, I was like, okay, I definitely got to go here. It's like, I'm fine with that. Coach, I think, it wasn't. I forgot who it was. The receiver coach at the time at Tech.
Okay.
They were like, it was like between Baylor and Texas Tech, they were like sending me like full on notes and hitting my DMs and stuff like that. But I was like, man, Lubbock's far. Lubbock's far. It's like I really don't want to put the effort to actually go out there.
Yeah.
I mean, they got a high powered offense as well. And they called me, they're telling me like what my plan was for them. They're talking about, oh yeah, we want you to be inside, outside, some wildcat. I was like, okay, all that sounds good, but that's Lubbock though. But it was a good experience. I went out there February for the junior day.
Okay. And
actually that was my first time in campus and just seeing the facility, trying on the jerseys and all that stuff, seeing just seeing them. I guess it was the winter season. So just seeing them work out in the off season, it was like this feels like home to me. So that's right then and there. That next day after that pro day, maybe 2 days, I committed.
Do you understand all that you've given to Baylor too? Like, a lot of times we look at like, wow, I was fortunate to be here and stuff, but like you gave a lot to the university and to your teammates and to the staff and administrators. Are you like me where it's like, no, I didn't do anything, or does it sink in?
Honestly, it doesn't as much. I mean, people tell me all the time, like, thank you for what you did at Baylor. Like people that see me out in Waco when I'm out at George's or just somewhere random, maybe like Valley Mills Vineyard or something like that. And they're always telling me, thank you for what you did. And I'm like, man, all I did was just give my all. And that's all you could ever ask for me.
All right. Well, how about where can people find you? Like I know you're training folks, like if they want to get in touch with you, how can they find you and get some help?
Yeah, I'm over at D1 Waco. It's off of Franklin.
Oh yeah.
So I'm a sports performance coach. So I teach adult classes, also train kids and adults, depending on what your goals are. But do that over there at D1 Waco Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturdays.
Chris Platt, you are the man. I really appreciate you coming in.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, that is Chris Platt. That was the Pete Sousa Show. We'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Of course, thanks to Slovacic's, Crawford Austin Properties, D1, and everybody who's involved in making this thing happen. Have a great day.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. It really got me what I deserved.
The difference is Stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Deion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
Look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been, no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy. Man. I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know, we always family, no matter where I'm at.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. So,
deserved, man.
Which seems like it fits.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe
more relaxed. What were a couple of your biggest takeaways? The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that. Has the general manager changed at all in the draft for you?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
We are Rogue Media Sports.